What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. A little impromptu Volquest podcast, and man, it's quite a time, right? It's been a wild week. I obviously am not on the road in Lexington. If you're watching on YouTube, I am sitting in my home office slash studio slash whatever you want to call it. I was not going to Lexington, and then I was not going to turn around and drive to Nashville and spend my entire weekend, away from the house and a lot of driving and all that when there's a ton of work to be done. So now the Nashville scrimmage got canceled. In case you haven't seen, weather's crappy and all that. Expected to be crappy in that regard. So they've canceled that. But also, big news on Saturday, Tennessee has a head coach, and it's been a crazy week. Josh Elander, first and foremost, congratulations to him, the new Tennessee head baseball coach, getting the promotion from associate head coach, where he's held that title since following the 2022 season. He's been the recruiting coordinator for quite some time. He has worked with hitters, obviously. He's the hitting coach. He's worked with catchers, a former catcher himself, and working with catchers, he works with hitters. He's done just about everything, and he's kind of been that right-hand man to Tony Vitello throughout his 8 years. I mean, don't get me wrong, Frank Anderson runs the pitching staff. I mean, that the way Tony coached things, it was Tony does this, Frank does everything pitching. Josh Elander runs the offense, Tony's the head boss of everybody, but like in terms of individual decisions, especially pitching-wise, I mean, that's Frank Anderson. But in terms of, your right-hand man to go do this, go do that, step in whenever Tony Vitello is ejected from a baseball game or suspended from a baseball game or whatever, Elander was that guy that was acting head coach. And, man, the players love him. If you didn't see the video that Tennessee Baseball put out there on social about just the reaction and, Josh Elander addressing the team, when it was announced to the team that they had made a decision, it's phenomenal work. It's really, really cool stuff. So go ahead and do that and check that out if you have the time here this afternoon. So it's been crazy. So you went from last Saturday when we're checking into the hotel in Birmingham ahead of Tennessee and Alabama in Tuscaloosa. That's, about an hour away. Get the news that, from the New York Times or from the Athletic, New York Times owns the Athletic, essentially saying that the Giants are closing in on hiring Tony Vitello. And so that really, started to escalate in a public eye over the next couple of days while Tony was wrestling with his decision. Of course, as we've mentioned several different times, there was always thought, there was always communication, there was always something there. Okay, it was never just a list on a name. There was always something there, but clearly Buster Posey had a direction he was going in. He was interviewing former catchers like himself, and I think Nick Hundley was kind of their guy, and then he ultimately took his name out of the hat and decided to, at least the talk is that he wants to get the Padres gig. And then once that happened, we think that things with Vitello really started to heat up about mid to late last week. And then, of course, the Athletic story dropped on Saturday, and it sent everything in a public whirlwind as Tony Vitello told a select few members of us in the media on Thursday. So anyway, it's a lot has gone on. Tons and tons have gone on, since that last Saturday, a week ago. We go on Tony Vitello watch, where you think that by the time we get back from Tuscaloosa, Tony Vitello is going to be gone. That's not the case. You talk to this person, this person, this person. You prepare for this angle, this angle, this angle, all this stuff. And then ultimately it's for Tony Vitello to not make a decision truly until about Wednesday morning. And then he got together with a couple of his media members and issued a lengthy statement. And, it was so Tony. Everything about that was so Tony. We've written tons of stories off of it. Got a lot of play. Of course, you can check it out on the website if you haven't seen it or haven't read it. The full transcript is there. Before that, you had the press conference from Danny White on Wednesday and said it's not a sad day, it's a proud day. Proud of Tony Vitello, and we're going to have a national search, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and Josh Elander will be a candidate. He's not the head coach, or he's not the acting head coach in terms of interim basis. That's going to be Frank Anderson. We want Josh Elander to focus on his candidacy and all that, and I talked to some people right after that press conference, in fact, still in that room at the press conference, and, Danny White wouldn't say it on record, nor should he, because he don't want to be backed into a corner, but I talked to somebody, I'm like, this is going to go pretty fast, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, this is going to go very fast. That does not mean that Elander was just assumed to get the job, but, the process was going to go fast, because you look at what Tennessee's got ready to roll, signed up in the 2026 class, pretty good, even better in 2027. So there was a lot to kind of hold together right there. You still got to go out and get the right guy, but also you got to remember this is mid to late October. this is not the coaching cycle. How comfortable would coaches be from leaving where they are now, stepping into a situation where you have to follow Tony Vitello at the end of fall ball when you have no clue about anything and step in and do a job when opening day is a little over 100 days away. It's not a comfortable feeling. Now, money talks, and if somebody was going to double your salary, that's something else. But I mean, Tennessee did its due diligence. He hired the Parker executive search firm, as he always does, as being Danny White. He had an internal little search committee that consisted of Todd Helton was a part of that, as well as some administration people there to help Danny White to identify, solidify some guys, and then ultimately go about the interview process. I don't think there were many interviews in this process. Josh Elander obviously interviewed. Okay. Coastal Carolina coach, interviewed on Friday. Okay. And I don't know if Danny White didn't get any more nibbles or if he had seen enough or whatever. I mean, whatever. I'm not Danny White. I don't know what he's thinking, but that was enough. And they went with Josh Elander. And again, from the onset, it seemed like, Grant helped me write the hot board like on Sunday coming home from Tuscaloosa, and Grant's wording in there was, Josh Elander seems like the obvious choice. I mean, it seems like the obvious choice from everybody, right? He's been kind of like a head coach in waiting. He's a recruiting coordinator. He's done this. He's done that. He's done this, and all that and more. But, Danny White was going to do his due diligence. He was going to open it up and look around and everything, because this is a very attractive job right now. The culture, where the winning is, the stadium, the resources to go out and win right now, and no better person to kind of carry that into the next phase of Tennessee baseball than Josh Elander. I mean, because if you want to preach culture, Josh Elander is a massive part of that culture. And so promoting him kind of keeps the train on moving. And so, yeah, it's been a wild week. I'm really happy for Josh Elander that he's gotten this job. I'm excited to see what imprints he puts on, this Tennessee baseball chapter, and so I'm excited for that. So, got a couple players going to come on here. First, we're going to talk with Jared Dickey, former players. Jared Dickey is going to join us, give his thoughts on Josh Elander, give his thoughts on Tony Vitello going to the Giants, and then we're going to speak with the OG for the porch, Luke Lipcius, going to join us here later on this Tennessee baseball impromptu pod. But first, let's talk with Jared Dickey. Jared, man, what a week to watch from afar, being a former player, being a big part of this program here in recent memory, and you're seeing everything that's going on. Of course, you're still talking to people who are here and your former teammates. What a week this has been, and it ended the way everybody wanted it to, I felt like, but still a lot of highs and a lot of lows.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It's been a very stressful week, I will say that for sure. But I mean, I'm really excited for Coach V and the opportunity that he has to just go do what he has always done, and that's be a really good coach. And I think that he's going to just kill it. So I'm excited to see that, but even more so, I'm excited to see Coach Elander finally get the chance that he deserves. Man, he puts in so much work over there, and a lot of it, I said it earlier in the week, it just goes behind the scenes. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves, and now that he finally has this job, I think it's going to really show just how much he does and how much he understands the players and the culture over there. So I'm really excited to see what he does with this opportunity.
So, I mean, former players or current players are always going to go to bat for their guy. Like I mean, that happened with A&M a couple of summers ago. That happens all the time. Why? I mean, you've seen firsthand your entire tenure here at Tennessee. Elander was right here. Why is Elander going to be successful? Why do you think Elander is going to be successful, and why he was just the obvious choice for the job?
Yeah, I really think the biggest thing is just the way that he communicates to players. Really, he's a hitting guy, but he completely understands the pitching side of the game as well because he was a catcher in college and in the minor leagues. So he pretty much understands everybody in the room, which I think is going to help him succeed a lot. It's more on the hitting side, obviously, but just the way that he can talk to us because he's been through everything and all the situations that he's put himself in. He can talk to us really good and just give us the information about a pitcher that we might not have looked at or, like one of the big things that when I got to Tennessee was spin rate. Spin rate was a really big thing, and I had no idea what it was. I didn't understand it coming out of high school because we didn't use that stuff. And just the amount of time and detail that he put into explaining that to us and helping us succeed, I think it's really going to translate over to what he's doing now.
What was it like, Josh Elander, the recruiter? Because I mean, of course, Tony Vitello was the best recruiter in the nation. Then he got the head job here at Tennessee, and I think Elander has transitioned into one of the, maybe not the best, but one of the better recruiters in all college baseball. What was it like when he and others on staff were recruiting you?
I mean, if he's not the best, then he's pretty close to it. Honestly, he's one of the biggest reasons I came to Tennessee. Just the way that he talked to me and my family, and the way that he made my mom and dad feel so special and seen, which I did not get on a couple of my other visits, even in state. So I'm very thankful for that, and thankful for the way that he made my family feel, and the way that he goes about telling you about the program, and just kind of giving you an outline of what he wants and what the culture is expecting now. It's very good what he's doing.
Yeah, no doubt. Um, you saw him recruiting coordinator, hitting coach, working with the catchers. While working with the catchers, he was working with the pitchers. I mean, he had his hands all over this program. Do you think that experience, by not just focusing in on one phase of the game, but being all over the map, do you think that has better equipped him for this opportunity and kind of made him into just the well all around coach that he is?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of the stuff that he has done is, behind scenes. But during our practices, he runs a good bit of it, especially the defense and the offensive side of it. All of our bunt plays, all of our first and third plays, everything like that. He's pretty much the one that's implementing everything. So, and then, like I said, he's got time. He's got time under one of the best coaches in college baseball ever. So he's gonna use what he's learned from him, and just translate it to what he's doing now.
You look at, let's take aside, from the whole Josh Elander angle. What was it like over the last couple of days? It was official. Tony Vitello was going to San Francisco on Wednesday, and then, it's an immediate search, nationwide search. Thursday goes by, Friday goes by. I mean, there's names thrown around there. Tennessee interviewed, to my knowledge, at least one other candidate. But then early Saturday morning, it landed with Josh Elander. As a former player, what was it like during this last 2 or 3 days where you're just like, man, I don't know what this program's going to look like potentially, next week if it's a new guy.
Mhm. Yeah. Obviously, it doesn't affect us as much as it does the current players and the current staff, but it still stresses us out a little bit, just because what we've built here is very special, and we want to see it preserved for the rest of time if possible. So, I mean, just thinking, like, if it was somebody else that got the job, just the trickle down effect of what that would be. We were really worried about the recruiting classes and the upcoming classes, because they're absolutely loaded. And don't get me wrong, a lot of those guys are going to get drafted in the first and second rounds and get a lot of money. But even the guys who are not going to be draft picks, they're extremely talented. So just thinking, like, if someone else came in, there would probably be a lot of decommits and people opening up that process, and then as well as staff leaving. I don't know exactly if anybody would do that, but I know there's always the possibility. So just a really stressful time.
Yeah. Can't imagine it was fun to watch, but ultimately, again, it's a good resolution. I mean, if it was going to be anybody, if Tony Vitello had to leave, I feel like from a player's perspective, if anybody was going to take the job, you're glad that it's Josh Elander. Last thing I got for you about Tony Vitello, man. I mean, how you opened it up and said, well, congrats to him. I mean, obviously, be honest, the first time you saw an article, you saw somebody say it, like Tony Vitello has been linked to the Giants. What was your thought?
Uh, the first time I saw it, I said, "Yeah, there's no way that's happening." And but no, I mean, sure enough, I was wrong. But no, man, like I said, it's such a cool opportunity for him. No one's ever done this before, and I think if there's anybody that can do it, it's him. So I'm just really excited to see what he does, and I know that Drew Gilbert is just ecstatic right now. I texted him the other day, and he sent me a long thing just being Gilbert. So, but yeah, my first reaction was, yeah, there's no way. And then Saturday, I was like, oh, there is a way.
Well, you're living that life now, right? You're living, playing 145 games or whatever, and of course it's 162 at the big league level plus spring training, maybe playoffs. It's a different world, and that's not to say that Vitello won't go out there and crush it. I think anybody would be silly to bet against Vitello, but it is going to be very different. How do you think that he's going to adapt to? I mean, it's a lifestyle change, a huge lifestyle change.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And I think the biggest thing that he's going to have to realize is that the way that he coached us here was very fiery and a lot more instruction based. Those guys, they're really good. Like Rafael Devers, he's pretty much got everything that he needs. So I think just being there for whatever they need and whatever they ask of him, I think that's going to be the biggest key piece of advice that anybody will give him, really.
Awesome. Well, good deal, Jared. Thanks so much for the time, man. Appreciate you coming on here and sharing your reactions to Josh Elander, your former hitting coach and Mr. Everything Else, getting anointed to the head coaching job here at Tennessee.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
How we go from Jared Dickey to the OG of the Porch Podcast. Had him on for a couple of seasons. That is Luke Lipcius, a father, a husband, a soon-to-be father, a coach, an engineer. There's a million things you got going on right now, but Luke, appreciate the time, man. Wanted to bring you in here and get your thoughts on just the craziest week of Tennessee baseball ever, right? First and foremost, your thoughts and congratulations for Josh Elander.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back. I've been missing this podcast. But yeah, like you said, an absolutely crazy weekend. When you first hear the news that Tony V is going to the Giants, the first thing you can think is, well, of course, I'm incredibly happy for him, excited. But then what does this mean for Tennessee baseball? And, the main thing is that he set such a good culture and such a specific way to play baseball that you're worried that if they bring in a new coaching staff, that all is basically just going to go out the window. And so for Josh Elander to be hired as the coach, I am so happy for him and his family. It's so exciting for them. Just the work he puts in, the stories you hear of him, traveling at 6 p.m. after a practice, going all the way across the state, recruiting, then coming back for another practice in the morning. Just the work he's put in, his dedication to the team, and then the way he's built the culture with V and all the guys around him. There is not a more deserving person in this nation to be the head coach. So we're super excited for him. As far as I don't even know what to, not politically, but logistically, I guess. I think it helps the Vols in a great way because he's one of the main recruiters for us. So that means those guys that they want to bring in to the program, the recruits, they're not going to lose those guys, you would think, because we still got that coach there. Whereas if Tony V had left, maybe they bring in a new staff, whatever. You worry about losing those really top tier recruits. You worry about those NIL portal guys. So I think as far as the program itself and getting those guys in the future, it helps us in that aspect. But then also as far as the program goes, it's so good to keep it all in the family, so to speak. Everyone is used to him. He's such a great guy. You could tell by that. There's the reaction video that was posted by whoever, Danny White, letting everyone know. Everyone was so happy, jumping around with him. So the guys love him and what he does. And it's because he's so good at what he does. He's not only just a great hitting coach, now he's going to be a great head coach. He's such a great person, great father, all that stuff. So I'm so excited for him, and I'm really glad that the Vols made the right choice.
So I had to put my microphone on mute there because if you listen closely, you can hear my 6-month-old just going crazy upstairs. So things you have to look forward to there.
Baby. Everyone's going crazy.
Yeah, everybody's going crazy. What a day for Tennessee baseball. I want to ask you this. I mean, obviously, he's had his hands all over this program, recruiting, offense, hitting, catchers, working with pitchers, obviously, too, base running. I mean, everything in there. What qualities, and you mentioned a lot of them right there, but what qualities do you think will make him be successful to be a head coach? Because he's been in this role where, Tony was the rah-rah guy, and Tony obviously brought so much to the table. Elander's not Tony. They're very different people. As Garrett Crochet told us earlier this week, I mean, they're the same coin, but two different sides, or whatever that quote was. What do you think will make Josh Elander be a successful head coach where he's already been so successful in all these other roles?
Yeah, so like you said, definitely a different personality, more not so much laid back, but almost a quiet demeanor and a focused demeanor. Not that Tony V wasn't focused; he was extremely focused, but he just showed it way more than Elander does. I think what Elander is going to do so well is get or earn the trust of the players. So he's going to get those guys that want to play behind him, play for him, because he's so good at developing those relationships. And then his knowledge of ball is just absolutely unmatched. He knows everything about the game. And you can tell when he talks that he knows what he's talking about, but that also he wants you to get where he is and really understand what's going on and build you up. So I think for him, it's going to be like you said, a lot of the same that we've been seeing with V. Just the ability to get guys to play for him, play the right way, but then also just impart his knowledge on him and develop him the way that he can. I think it's so great how close Elander and V were and what they did, that they're going to have a lot of the same kind of foundational styles of how they coach, in that they're going to do things the right way, the culture that they've built, developing players, all these things. But then he's just going to do it in a lot more kind of stoic fashion. You know, he's going to have his excitement, but you never know. Hey, now that he's the head coach, maybe he's going to get a little juice bug, you know, and start going crazy on the field.
Do you have, and this might be, I'm putting you on the spot, so I mean, if you don't have one, that's fine. I hate when people do this to me, but do you have an Elander story that sticks out to you, a funny story, or a time where you're just like, okay, I mean, that's just a classic example, like that's a dude I want to be with, like that's just, I don't know, I mean, you talk about leaving practice and driving through the night and recruiting and then come back the next day, like, is there a story about E that sticks out to you where you're just like, man, that dude's the real deal?
You know, there's not one specific story. Plus, you're asking a lot of me. That must have been like 10 years ago, but how long I played. No, I think it's the consistency. It's not one story. It's just, everyday story of him, whether it was players staying or wanting to stay until, 8 o'clock, getting BP under the lights, or just extra work early in the morning. You ask E to do something to help you out, and he was the first person to say yes. So with that being said, not a specific story, but I think it's just the consistency that he provided with the willingness to develop you that really set him apart as far as his coaching style.
So you actually played your first year with the prior coaching staff. So when the new regime came in with Tony and Elander, kind of what were your, I mean, obviously it was different. What were your initial thoughts on this group? And Frank, of course, is in that. Ross is a part of that. What was your initial thoughts at that time change?
Yeah, so the first group that brought me on, or my first coach that I played for that brought me on, I owe him everything. He got me to Tennessee, but you could just tell that this new group wanted it a little bit more. And what I mean by that is they were willing to put in the extra hours, not only recruiting, not only looking into how to develop the stadium, but also the extra hours with the guys. We had guys wanting to stay late at practice when I was first there, or early hitting or whatever. There was a few guys here and there that would do that, but now it's a standard that we go to early hitting, that you stay late. And that's instilled by the coaches, just being there, grinding it out all day, in and out. And then also, Elander's going to have such a huge support staff with Frank still being there, Ross coming back, like those kind of guys. Wait, is Ross back or is it Ricky?
Ricky's back. Ross is back as well.
Okay, that's what
nothing
I thought.
official in terms of what his staff's going to be like, but we do believe that Ross is going to be here. We think Frank's going to be here until he retires. I would assume Josh will probably address that in his press conference. But to answer your question, Ross is back on staff with Tony, and Ricky is back with support staff.
That's what I thought. Yeah, we've got the dynamic duo. Those two guys are phenomenal. But as I was saying, the support staff that Elander is going to have, with all those guys, and then including the lifting coach Q, Clint Eberhardt, it's hard for that system to fail. Everyone has been through that system with Tony V, gotten such a good feel for what they need to do, that it's just so awesome, the support staff that they have. And like I said, they are just so bent on developing the players, and you can tell that they truly want everyone to be as good as they can be. So that was really the main difference, is that they were so passionate about us and wanting us to be as good as we could be.
So did you see that video that Tennessee Baseball put out?
Danny White announcing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you saw Josh come in there. Have you ever seen Elander without a beard?
Very few times, and I tell you what, it's a little bit of a shock seeing him without the beard. I mean, he just gets so burly, and him with the beard, it's like he goes from I don't know, a 40-year-old wilderness man to, his college days again. But either way, I think he's a great looking man.
I saw the pictures and I had heard that he shaved it off for the interview process, but like when I saw it today, I'm just like, oh man, that is Josh. He looks completely different. That's cool stuff. I guess out the door, man. We've seen so many. We've reached out to so many of your former teammates and former Vols, and you're seeing it all over Twitter right now. It's pretty much unison. Like, man, this was the guy. Like, so happy for him and all that. That's great to see. Danny White, to his credit, I mean, you can't make a hire just off what players say or whatever. You got to go out and do your due diligence, and I think he did. But were you surprised about the timing at all, man? Like, I thought this would go quick. I did. I was not expecting this morning. I was expecting like up at the podium announcing your new coach Tuesday or Wednesday because I did think it'd go quick, but I'm still a little surprised that it happened this fast.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of the timing of when it happened because this late into the fall, you kind of need to get someone in there as quick as possible. But yeah, like you said, we heard that they were interviewing for other candidates. And so you expect, a week-long interview process, then kind of blah, blah, blah. So the turnaround was incredibly crazy. I don't know what Elander said in that interview to make it go so quick. But yeah, definitely was not expecting this Friday to get the decision. But like I said, I think he had to have known. I don't know. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I'm sure Elander just really knocked it out the park. And he's just the obvious decision. I've been telling so many people that he did us a favor by staying with Tennessee for as long as he did because he was so well equipped and ready to step into that higher role. But he stayed as an assistant because he loved the program so much. And I think that just speaks volumes to who he is. And then also, of course, we would have not been the same without him.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to be in a hurry because you're at such a good place where you're the right-hand man. You're making good money now. Would it behoove you to go and get your first job somewhere else and where you're kind of set up to fail? The resources aren't there. The fan base isn't behind you. Whereas you can kind of sit here and kind of pick and choose. And if something ever happened to Tony and he were to leave, I mean, you're the obvious choice. And I don't think anybody thought the Giants, I'm going to ask you, that's the last question I'm going to ask you about the Giants. I don't think anybody thought he was going to leave and go to the Major League Baseball. But, if he were to leave and go to another job or just whatever, go MLB Network, whatever, he could kind of step in there and it could be seamless. So, I think the fact that he wasn't in a hurry, he could be selective because you were at a spot to where you were compensated well, you were winning, you were well resourced, you could be selective, and obviously that worked out in his favor. Last thing, obviously Tony's off to the Giants, man. What do you guys think, you and your brother, and ultimately the first time his name was linked to the Giants, what was your thought? Because, I mean, after I started digging around, at first I think it was pretty unison, like, that's not going to happen. What?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is probably ask him for an open tryout or something. See if I can maybe make the team. No, I'm just kidding. All jokes aside, it was definitely a shock. So Tony V's style fits so well with the college game because it is so much passion, so much player development that at first glance, I didn't think that he would be the best fit for a major league team. And that's just me being candid because you see in the major leagues, it's not so much of a team aspect, so to speak. It's a lot of guys going and getting theirs. And then when you come to the playoffs, then it turns into this college baseball atmosphere. So first glance, I'm like, okay, I don't know if that would be the best thing. But then you see about how Buster Posey is looking at the situation where he wants to bring in this guy that unites the team, that gets the passion, that starts developing players. And you're like, okay, this makes sense. Tony V is the perfect guy. And just the way that he is, he's going to succeed no matter where he is. And I think that's exactly what Buster Posey and the Giants organization sees in him, this guy that could end up changing Major League Baseball forever and maybe bringing that certain college baseball feel to a game that, you have your hardcore fans, but also if you're trying to attract new fans, you want to see the passion every day. You want to see these guys going out and playing together. So I think that in the end, he's going to have such an impact on Major League Baseball that it's going to change the game the way he runs things. And I think it also helps that he's going to have Drew Gilbert to be his, watchdog, we'll call it, when it goes around and does this. So the videos of Drew that are circulating around the web are absolutely hilarious. And I think that it's so cool to see someone like Drew maintain his personality being on that stage. But back to Tony V, I think at initial opinion was shocked, like no way. But then now you see everything coming out with the organization. I think that it is the right fit, and I think that he's going to do something that Major League Baseball hasn't seen ever.
It's so weird. Like, I mean, Tony loves all his players. I mean, he name drops you all the time. Name drops, Luke and Jordan and Rucker and Cortland, and I mean, I could go on and on and on. Like, he loves everybody's coach, and he, I don't want to say he's got favorites, but Drew Gilbert's 1-1, right? And so the fact that he and Drew Gilbert are reunited again. It's like we're in an alternate universe, because like I never thought that would ever happen in a million years, and here they are on the biggest stage, and instead of playing Arkansas, you're playing the Dodgers now. Like, it's wild, man. It's pretty cool to sit back and watch.
Yeah, I think the antics between them are going to be broadcast nationally on social media, whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's so cool to for him to go somewhere that there is a Vol, but also, to his credit, the rest of the coaching staff's credit, there's a lot of Vols everywhere in pro baseball now. So he could have landed in a few spots that he would have had a counterpart. But yeah, him and Drew were on a little bit different level. I think they both had the same energy, and if V wasn't a manager, he would be, or maybe he was the same as Gilbert. But of course, because he's the head coach, he couldn't really show it as much. But you could tell that when they got together, it was just fireworks. So it'll be interesting to see how they operate with him being the manager and Drew being himself.
It's going to be fun to watch, no doubt. It's going to be fun to watch Josh Elander just kind of continue this Tennessee baseball program that you guys helped build. And I say that, metaphorically, but literally, I mean, $109 million stadium. Have you been back in recent memory to see kind of what it looks like?
No. So last year was there was a alumni golf outing. Went back and saw the left side stadium renovations. The left field stadium renovations. Those are amazing. And then going back in a couple of weeks here, actually, and then I'll get to see the boxes, all that stuff. So I'm so excited with what that place is turning into. I mean, with how many people came in and how many people had to be standing, when we were building this thing up. And then even now with the left field renovation, how many people are still standing. That place is just going up and up. And it's a tribute to what Tony built, but then it's also a tribute to the guy he brought in, and the players that he has coached up. So it's really cool to see. And I absolutely love watching the videos of the renovations. It's cool to sit back and say, hey, I was a part of something that started this ball rolling to get it to where it is today.
Yep, absolutely, man. You're going to be shocked when you see it. It is, I mean, we're there every day, but like it's mind. And then I'll see a picture from like 2017 with the no turf and no porches and no left, and I'm just like
what were we playing on? Yeah. I think it's for the better that they made these changes.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Luke, appreciate it, man, and look forward to talking with you more during baseball season, all right?
Yes, sir, of course.
Big news of the day, Josh Elander named Tennessee head coach. It was a 3-day nationwide coaching search, but when you know who the guy is, might as well stop wasting anybody's time. And Danny White did just that, promoting Josh Elander. And we'll continue to talk about this all weekend long right here at Volquest.com.